And your decision is not whether you will go into full-time ministry, but where you will go into full-time ministry. Does that make sense? It's not whether you will go into full-time ministry. We all call. It's not John and I who have this special call because we're special people. There's no such a thing as a half-time Christian, part-time Christian. We're all full-time. We're called into the ministry full-time. The choice, the decision isn't about whether we will go, but where. Perhaps where you're working now, that's your mission field. Perhaps what you're doing now, that's what God has called you to do. You don't have to leave what you're doing in order to go into full-time. As we traditionally understand full-time means being called to be a clergy. What you're doing, I want to encourage teachers. Sue, what an influential role she has in schools. Amen? Shaping young lives, investing into young lives before they turn sour and skewered. We can change at a young age. And I can think of so many other careers. Perhaps God has placed you there. If only you will understand and realize that that's your field. If that's not your field, find another. We've all been called. The issue has to do with who we give our allegiance to. Our allegiance must be to Christ. As disciples of Christ, we allow Him to lead and direct us according to His will and however He chooses. We have the light of the world living in us. What are we going to do about that light that lives inside our hearts? Jesus says, I am the light of the world. He turns it around and He now tells us, His church, the offspring of Abraham, you are now the light of the world. You are now the salt of the earth. It is both an honor and a responsibility. I'd like to conclude with a story. Just so that we don't get this sense that God's purpose for us is it's something huge that we cannot do, something that's unrelated to daily living, that this purpose is, it's really hard to find out what it is. You need angels to tell you before you do anything with your life serious for God. I just want to bring it down to earth. And hopefully this story will bring this whole notion of what God's purpose is and how that plays out in a more down-to-earth way. The story is about a cheerful old man who asked the same question of just about every new acquaintance that he fell into conversation with. These are two questions he asked, and I suggest that we try and remember them and use them as a grid for how we make decisions. These are the two questions he asked. What have you done that you believe in? Yeah, that's the first question. What have you done that you believe in? Number two, what have you done that you believe in that you're proud of? He never asked conventional questions such as, what do you do for a living? It was always, what have you done that you believe in and are proud of? Inevitably, this was an unsettling question for people who built their self-esteem on their wealth, or their family name, or the exalted job title. Not that the old man was a fierce interrogator at all. It's just an innocent, casual question. And he was delighted by a woman who answered, I'm doing a good job raising 3 children. I believe in my children. I believe in investing in my children. And my ministry as a mother is important. And I'm proud of that ministry. Or by a cabinet maker who said, I believe in good workmanship. Practice it. I believe in producing and building the best furniture in my opinion. And I'm proud of it. And by a woman who said, I started a bookstore and it's the best bookstore for miles around. The old man says, I really don't care how they answer. I just want to put the thought into their mind. And he goes on to say, they should live their lives in such a way that what they can have, in such a way that they can have a good answer. Not a good answer for me, but a good answer for themselves. That's what's important. Might I add, a good answer for God. Because God asks a similar question. What is it that you are doing with your life that you really believe in and that you empower? That's right. Let's bow our heads. Let's do some reflection. We're going to have all heads are bowed, eyes are closed. We're going to sing a couple of songs. And I'm just wondering, while we're singing those couple of songs to close the service, if there anybody here who wants prayer, I'd like to pray for you, just come on up. To the side, we don't want you to feel awkward coming up to the center of the stage. Feel like you stand. Maybe God has given you a dream, a vision, a passion, but you feel you've screwed it up big time. This morning, know that God is merciful. God is gracious. God is forgiving. He longs to work through you more than you'll ever know. He's not giving up on you. Would you let Him pick you off the floor? Resume where you left them. Maybe there are those in our midst whom God has given a dream, a passion, and vision, but you're overwhelmed by the enormity of the task. God would say to you, take one step at a time. A 1,000-mile journey begins with one small step. Maybe you're like one of those who's feeling nothing much is happening, even though you've been working hard on what you believe God has called you to do. What you believe is God's vision and direction. You've invested your time in it, and you feel like nothing. There's very little fruit. I want to say to you, hang in there. Don't despise small beginnings. And if you've come to believe that you are just too insignificant for God to pay any notice to, if you've come to believe that you have screwed up your life, that you're just not worthy for God to even think about you, let alone commission you with a purpose, then I want to say to you that God treasures you. Jesus says, whoever welcomes one of these little ones, remember the little ones, in those days were second-class citizens. Jesus says, welcome, because he who welcomes the little one welcomes me. And Jesus is here to say to you, I welcome you. No matter what you have done, how you feel you've screwed up, I welcome you. God's purpose is still valid. You're an image bearer of God. And lastly, for those who are stuck and confused with what you're supposed to do in life, ask Him to reveal it to you. Talk to someone. Get some advice. Now, if you're one of those that I've just listed out, you want prayer this morning, I invite you to come forward. John and I and some others from the prayer team will be here to pray for you. Take up this invitation, okay? As we close the service with these two songs. Lord, if you can do this. During the songs, if you want prayer this morning, come to the front. Okay?